All the way through the pregnancy, I had believed that I was growing a baby. But the day of delivery, I found out that I was actually making a mom and I was making a dad. The adrenaline, the euphoric feeling of taking somebody's dream and making it a reality was unreal. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. My heart was not broken. My heart was healed. I got to make a family. Wow. I'm Rebecca, and I was a gestational carrier with Surrogate Steps. And my surrogacy journey kind of was born in me at a kind of a young age. I was a teenager when my cousin did surrogacy, and I remember sitting at a family event and her telling her story. And what was fascinating to me was I knew at that moment that I felt differently about surrogacy than everybody else at the table. There was looks of concern, or you could tell people were confused by the idea. And my view of what she had told was that it was this incredible, beautiful thing that I hoped someday I would maybe get to do. Of course, I was 16 at the time, so I wasn't even a mom yet. So it was kind of a lofty dream. And it definitely got put on the back burner while I was completing my own family. And over the next many, many years, I had 4 biological kids, and then my husband and I stepped into foster care. We fostered over 60 kids and ended up adopting 6 more. So now we had 10 kids. So our family was certainly complete. I had no desire to have any more children of my own or actually raise any more children of my own. And so, I was entering a new season of life where having or getting children was done for me. But there was still something that just, I didn't feel like it was done with motherhood. Though I had been every kind of mom. I'd been a stepmom, I'd been a foster mom, I'd been an adopted mom, I'd been a biological mom, but the one kind of mom I had never been was a surrogate. And so I decided, jokingly, I mentioned it to my sister-in-law, like I could be a Pokemon, catch them all. And so, but then the sound of my cousin from decades before, and the idea that, my body wasn't necessarily done having kids, I just was done raising kids, really made me think, all right, well, let's at least look into it. So I did. I sent out a whole bunch of inquiries. I Googled how to become a surrogate, and there was 2 avenues to becoming a surrogate. You could go what's called independent, which is where you handle everything yourself, or you could go through a private agency. And being that I had never really done any even Google research on surrogacy, I knew for sure that going through an agency was going to be my choice. I needed so much guidance. I didn't even know where to start. So I Googled surrogacy agencies, and it popped several, and I filled out information requests from all of them. And out of those, most of them came back immediately, were not interested. I don't fit the mold of a typical surrogate. I'm a little chubbier and a little older than most intended parents want to have. So I got denial after denial after denial. We're not interested. Thank you for your inquiry, but we're not interested at this time. And that was really defeating to hear, because I thought, well, okay, I don't necessarily meet all the surface level things that they're looking for in a surrogate, but I have a great reproductive system. It's ready to go. And I have a great history of giving birth and enjoying pregnancy. And I have, time on my hands to do the appointments, and I'm friendly. I would certainly be a good person to pair with another couple. I'm open and I'm not shy. So I would think that if I had to use a surrogate, I'd be a good choice. And I was really disappointed that it just kept getting denial after denial. But Surrogate Steps responded positively. They said, we'd love to talk with you. And so I jumped on a call, I think within a day or so of me putting out the inquiries, with a person who not only knew the journey professionally, she could walk me through what all the steps looked like, but she also had been a surrogate herself. And so I was able to ask her a lot of the personal questions that were concerning to me and the things that were weighing on my heart. Deciding to be a surrogate isn't an easy decision. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So I was able to jump on a call with her. We talked for more than an hour about everything, what her journey looked like, what I had hoped my journey would look like, my fears and concerns. We talked about my medical history. We talked about, how open I was to certain scenarios, different types of families that I was interested in building. And that was really a really meaningful experience for me. Somebody who was willing to take more than an hour of their time just to talk to me and help me figure out if this was the right time and place for this to happen. And so I left that call very encouraged. I was ready to go. And so I started immediately. She sent me first step, and I reached out to doctors and hit our first major roadblock, which is I had my first child 21 years before, and getting 21 years of reproductive medical history turned out to be much harder than any of us expected. And so we together, me and my coordinator, started knocking down every door to try and get all of my medical history, which turned out to be quite a challenge. But we did it. It took both of us. It took some strongly worded emails, but we got it. And so I remember the day that we got the full medical history that was lost in the universe somewhere, and I just wept. I was so relieved. And so then they went through the review of looking at my medical history to make sure that I was truly a good candidate. They never want to put my health in danger any more than they want to put baby's health in danger, but I passed with flying colors. And so after that, that's when we started the matching process. The matching process was my favorite part. When you're matching with a family, there are things that are going to matter to you that maybe don't matter to other families. For me, I had very few criteria that I really wanted to make sure were met. Mostly the fact that I had some young kids. I had my youngest daughter at the time was 6, and I didn't know how they were going to react to mommy raising a baby in the belly that wasn't going to be in the home. And I wanted to make sure that the family that I was going to have a baby for, that they understood that my kids mattered too, and they were willing to do what that took, whether that was meeting my kids or letting them meet the baby after they were born. I wanted to make sure that the family understood that we were a surrogate family and we came as a package and everybody mattered. That was really important to me. Also really important to me in the matching process was conditions under which we would terminate a pregnancy. For me, I was very nervous that if there was something genetically not right with the baby, that I would have to go through a termination, and that was very scary for me. And so I wanted to make sure that we were all aligned on the conditions that we would make that very difficult choice. I thought for sure we would never find a family that would be willing to take me at my age, would be willing to agree on minimal reasons to terminate. I really wanted a family that was willing to keep ongoing contact in some way after delivery, whether that was a school picture and a Christmas card every year or a text every other day. I didn't care, but I just wanted to know that I was gonna not lose contact with the family forever. And so those were my 3 big ones. And so the matchmaker for Surrogate Steps got to work, and it didn't take too long before I got a message, check your email. And that was a very exciting moment for me. I ran to my computer and up pops this profile, and on paper everything looks great. I think this is a great place to start. And so I showed my husband, and my husband was like, yeah, I mean, what do we do? And I say, I think we just say yes. And so we said, great. And they arranged for us to meet. And we met via Zoom because they lived out of state. And there were so many incredible overlap. Little, what I would call God winks or universe coincidences that would say, this is yes, this is good. This is what was supposed to happen. Even little things like they lived in New York, I lived in Colorado. They were Avalanche fans, and we're big sports fans around here. And so it was like, oh my gosh, not just like little sports fans, we're big sports fans. And they had Avalanche gear in their house, and little stuff like they both met at a restaurant where they were both working. My husband and I both met in a restaurant. My youngest daughter's name and his mom's name were the same. And there were these little moments that were just like magic that made it feel like this was aligning supernaturally. And so, woo, getting verklempt over here. So So anyway, we all agreed that this was a good match and we were going to move forward. The next step was legal. And it is very strange. It is a very strange process to formulate some kind of contract that allows me to grow their baby, where both parties are equally represented and equally protected. And in this case, I didn't even know when I picked Surrogate Steps that there was so much legal expertise. One of the folks that works at Surrogate Steps is actually a reproductive lawyer. And so I felt very protected, but I didn't even know when I got started I needed that kind of protection. I kind of was aloof about it. I thought, oh, well, just I have a uterus, they need a uterus, I don't want any more kids, they want a baby, this is a match made in heaven. But there's so much more to it than that. There's a legal side that makes sure that if they don't fulfill their financial obligations, how does that get ruled out? If I decided somewhere along the line to just change my mind and not continue with the pregnancy, how does that unfold? Things like how long and where I'm allowed to travel during the pregnancy. These are all really important parts that are going to fit into my lifestyle, that are going to fit into what I can and can't do and what they can and can't do, and some personal protections in there as well, like contact after the baby's born. Do I get to hold the baby? Do I get to meet the baby? These are all things that really need to be protected in a legal way. And so the legal process took a few weeks. Contract was drafted by Surrogate Steps, which was great. It went to their lawyer, they made their changes, it went to my lawyer, we made our changes, and together we were all signed up and ready to go, and now we're ready to have contact. After the legal portion of surrogacy, we finally get to be in contact with the intended parents without supervision, and this is where the friendship really began to develop. This is when we stopped talking about just surrogacy and started talking about, what does your life look like? What do you do for fun? And getting to know each other, and the depth that is grown during this process is like light speed. It's like you go from superficial friends to very deep friendship very quickly because we're doing this thing together. You start to trust them a little bit, and you start to talk about hopes and dreams, and you ask questions like, have you thought about names yet? And they haven't, because they haven't allowed themselves to dream that far. That's heartbreaking when a family has faced infertility for as long as these folks had. Not allowing yourself to dream was something that I just had never even thought about. It's also really, really beautiful when they start to dream. And so as the case went on and as the process went on and we faced what was coming was transfer. It's time to put the baby in, and had to have some medications to make sure that baby stuck. One of the big fears for me was miscarriage. I was really scared that something would happen along the line with the pregnancy, and the doctors in the fertility clinic prescribed medicines that greatly reduced that risk. Some of them were injectables, so my husband got to be my personal nurse and give me shots every day for a few weeks, but it was all worth it, and it wasn't even that bad. They're tiny little needles, but it was all worth it because the transfer was successful and got to fly to New York and get to conceive their baby. And that was an incredible experience. One of the most beautiful miracles I've ever seen. And I mean seen, they show you on the screen. You have the ultrasound right next to you. You can see the baby get put in, and it's incredible that a collection of 100 cells could turn into something so incredibly perfect. So the transfer went well. All the medicines worked. We made it all the way through a pregnancy, and it was amazing. This family welcomed me into their home. We went to their home for their baby shower. We welcomed them in our home. As crazy and chaotic as it is with 10 kids, they probably didn't want to stay too long. But it was this blending of families with this one shared goal. Everybody wanted these two incredible people to experience parenthood. And so we did it. We made it all the way to delivery. My water broke spontaneously while at work because this baby has plans of her own. And they were able to get here in plenty of time. They flew out a couple days before, and we were able to have the magical delivery that everybody would hope for. My husband and me and the mom and the dad all in the labor and delivery room together. The length of the delivery, which was longer than my kids, I was surprised by that. But like I said, she's got plans of her own. Anyhow, the delivery was magic. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. We all worked together for a lot of hours to get this baby safely earthside, and wow, the day of delivery, all the way through the pregnancy, I had believed that I was growing a baby. And certainly I was. But the day of delivery, I found out that I was actually making a mom and I was making a dad. And that was the coolest thing. I remember she was born and they placed her on my belly because the parents had chosen a delayed cord clamping. So she laid there for a couple of minutes. And I laid there looking at this baby, and it was strange because I didn't feel the same way I did about my own children. I wasn't like, oh, my baby, or, mommy loves you. All the things that came spontaneously out of my mouth when I had my own kids. None of that happened. And it wasn't rehearsed. I didn't know what to do. But I look down and I see this beautiful baby and I think, wow, she's so beautiful. And then I looked up and the baby's mom was standing next to me and she's losing it. She's seeing her child be born for she's becoming a mom. I lost it when I saw the mom because I realized, wow, you became a mom. This moment, you became a mom. I look over at the dad and my husband has his arm around him and they're doing whatever guys do when they become dads and shaking each other, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, look at your baby, this is so beautiful. And the adrenaline, the euphoric feeling of taking somebody's dream and making it a reality was unreal. It was the coolest thing I've ever experienced, and I've had a lot of cool things. And I watched the mom cut the cord and they took her into their own recovery room. And the moment of watching them walk out was one I was scared for. I thought, is this going to be a big heartbreak? But it was the proudest moment. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. My heart was not broken. My heart was healed. My heart was fulfilled because I got to make a family. Wow. I did not expect to get this emotional about this. And I think this is the first time I've actually told this story from start to finish since it happened. Yeah, getting verklempt over here. So they left the room, they went to their recovery. A few minutes later, the mom came back to check on me to make sure I wasn't, too upset, and I was ordering a sandwich. I was hungry. I'd been through a lot that day, but before they went over to the recovery side of the hospital, they brought her over and I got to meet her and hold her and tell her that I loved her, which I knew she already knew, which was so great. And we got this incredible picture of all 5 of us together, my husband and me, the mom and the dad, and this baby we'd all worked so hard to make. And wow, it was the coolest thing. I got discharged from the hospital a few hours later. Turns out they keep you in the hospital for the baby, not the mom. And as soon as I could get up and walk around, they let me go home. And I got home to my kids and we all got to celebrate that she was here and she was safe and she was with her parents and my kid. I got to tuck my kids in that night and kiss them goodnight, which I was so happy I made it home in time for. And we went back to normal life, changed forever by one very cool journey.